I think the worst of the economic effects from the shutdown are still ahead of the United States, as they are for many countries. And then, as your report just said, there's the possibility that all of these mass gatherings are going to lead to a second spike in coronavirus.
No doubt about it, Sam. It's Hadley out in Abu Dhabi. I mean, watching these images over the last several days, in particular, I've spent several years in Washington prior to being out here in the Middle East, covering U.S. national politics. It's unlike anything that I've ever seen, and certainly what most people can claim to have seen. I mean, I'm seeing video of the president walking across the street one day after riots that tore apart the Georgetown and other areas of Washington, D.C., going across to see St. John's Church, which was vandalized, set alight. You've got to wonder here, I mean, this goes way beyond riot politics or race politics, doesn't it? This is really about economics. And when we're talking about the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, you've got to wonder just how exactly one can bring things together in terms of bringing the country back to where we were prior to COVID-19.
Well, I can recall back in early March when I was asked, actually, in a media interview about what was then, the burgeoning coronavirus crisis. Wuhan was then in lockdown, and there were already concerns that the United States wasn't going to deal with the outbreak very well. And what I said at the time is that I thought, yes, America is reacting slowly, but often historically, although the United States has been slow to be roused, that when it is finally roused, it tends to react incredibly strongly and with the full resources of the state and of an incredible scientific and technological and business community. And that's been the case in wartime, but also in other crises. And so I guess I had a hope that that would happen again. I think from the vantage point now of early June, you'd have to say that that hope has been dashed. So that that kind of legendary.
In retrospect, then the lockdown was a mistake. In retrospect, was the lockdown a mistake? Because now you've got thousands of people coming out into the streets across cities in the United States. I mean, this seems to be much more of a threat, this threat of social unrest, even than COVID-19. I mean, all hindsight being 2020, but yeah. This, as I say, has gone beyond racial politics. This is economic.
Far beyond my level of competency to say whether the lockdown was a mistake. I mean, there are clearly the overwhelming medical advice from competent authorities around the world has been that these lockdowns have been necessary. What I'd say also actually is that you're right. This is going to be an economic crisis further down the track. Also, I think this is a reflection of an erosion of trust and of authority in government that's really happened in all Western democracies in the last few decades, really. Perhaps particularly evident in the United States, but really evident in all Western democracies, where, for the last few decades, what's happened is we've seen the emergence of a permanent political class that's more or less separate and not dependent on the public generally.